There is no moment in history more terrifying than the moment before a world war begins. Not because of the noise, but because of the silence. The subtle shifts in alliances, the coded language in speeches, the drills that are called routine, and the threats that come without being called threats. This is how World War III could begin. And the first sparks might already be glowing in the Middle East. At the center of the storm is a region soaked in centuries of blood and prophecy, the tension between Iran and Israel. A religious, political, and ideological powder keg, where one wrong move could cascade into global chaos. Iran's nuclear ambitions are no longer just rumors, they are red lines. Israel has long warned that it will not allow Tehran to obtain a nuclear weapon. And unlike other nations, when Israel draws red lines, it tends to enforce them. In the shadows, sabotage missions have already taken place. Nuclear scientists assassinated, facilities mysteriously destroyed. These aren't accusations. They're facts. Now imagine this. One successful missile strike from Iran on Israeli soil. One Israeli retaliatory air campaign that breaches Iranian sovereignty. That alone could be enough to ignite not just the region, but to draw in world powers who've already taken sides. The United States, under various administrations, has had different approaches, but one constant: its commitment to defend Israel. And under former President Donald Trump, that alliance became even more emboldened. Trump's withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal and the assassination of General Qasem Soleimani marked a sharp escalation. Iran never forgot. And its proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, militias in Iraq and Syria, have been preparing. Israel versus Iran may be the trigger. But it's the web of alliances that turns a regional war into a world war. Russia, emboldened by its actions in Ukraine and its growing partnership with Iran, would not sit by. China, watching closely, may use the opportunity to strike its own claim, perhaps Taiwan. Meanwhile, NATO would be forced to respond if any member is pulled into the fire. Turkey, a NATO member, borders Iran and has its own deep interests in the region. Suddenly, a spark in the desert turns into a global blaze. Cyber attacks on American infrastructure. Energy wars in Europe. Naval clashes in the South China Sea. Each action met with another, each retaliation justified as defense. And here's the terrifying part: it wouldn't look like past wars. No D-Day beaches. No clear battlefronts. Instead, drones, satellite strikes, digital blackouts, misinformation campaigns. A war fought as much in code as in combat. Where truth becomes a weapon and silence becomes complicity. Governments may not even declare war in the traditional sense. They'll call it a special operation, defensive intervention, cyber containment. But the death toll will be real. The consequences irreversible. And all the while, civilians, caught between algorithms and airstrikes, will search for truth in a world that deliberately hides it. Backroom deals. Secret briefings. Leaders smiling in public while planning offensives in private. The United Nations paralyzed. Global markets crashing. Oil prices skyrocketing. Refugee waves flooding borders. The world won't wake up to war with an explosion. It will wake up to 1,000 small actions that, in hindsight, were obvious warnings. So where are we now? Iran has enriched uranium beyond peaceful thresholds. Israel has conducted over 1,000 airstrikes in Syria alone, targeting Iranian forces. Hezbollah holds over 100,000 missiles pointed at Israeli cities. U.S. troops are still scattered across the Middle East. Russia and China hold joint naval drills with Iran. And now new threats emerge. Iran deepens its influence in Latin America, signing agreements with Venezuela and Nicaragua, just miles off American shores. A new front. Israeli intelligence uncovers underground missile depots in Lebanon stretching into civilian zones. A human shield. Turkey strengthens ties with Qatar and challenges Saudi influence, while also quietly testing military drones near Armenian borders. The U.S. deploys more naval assets to the Persian Gulf as a deterrent, but the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow choke point through which 30% of the world's oil flows, remains vulnerable. A cyber attack shuts down major U.S. financial systems for 3 hours. Blame is assigned. Retaliation promised. World leaders meet in Geneva, but leave with colder handshakes and no press statements. The world watches, distracted. Distracted by elections, by celebrity scandals, by inflation. Distracted by daily survival. But someone is connecting the dots. Not in government offices. Not in classified briefings. But in forgotten corners of the internet. In independent investigations. In forums, podcasts, and late-night conversations whispered between thinkers and watchers. This video is for those who want to understand not just what's happening, but what could happen. Because if World War III begins, history will not say it came from nowhere. We'll say we saw it coming. And we did nothing. Or worse, we provoked it. This is your forbidden dossier. And this might be our final warning.